What does it mean to, say, start a disciple-making culture? Maybe I'm leading a ministry. Maybe I'm leading a church. How does it start with me? Like, what would you coach me to do personally first?
Yeah. So I would say the first part is in your own abiding in Christ and spending time with the Lord in prayer and fasting, and to start to look at who has God put immediately in your life, whether it be somebody on your staff or whether it be involved in your ministry. Who are the people that are closest around you, your own family, your spouse, your kids, of whatever that context looks like for you. If you are leading a small group, and begin to ask some critical questions. Am I walking with those people similar to the way in which Jesus walked with his disciples? Am I doing life with them? Do I know them? Do they know me? Am I transparent and honest with them? Are they transparent and honest with me? Are we applying the scriptures to everyday life? Are we studying the scriptures together? I would take an inventory of your own life, being as honest as you can, accurately assessing yourself and going, am I living this out with those that are immediately around me? And I'm telling you, Bobby, you and I have talked about this. I can't tell you how many pastors I've talked to that don't have that kind of a relationship with their elders or their staff or the people that are closest to them. They don't really know each other. Yeah. And I go, how in the world could we ever go beyond your question to the church and building any kind of disciple-making movement at all if we don't have an abiding relationship with Christ and an abiding relationship with each other? That Jesus doesn't separate those two. If we're abiding in him, we need to abide in relationship with those that are the closest to us. And I think that's the starting place. And again, so often the church wants to run out and get the strategies and the curriculum, and here's all the things that we're going to implement in the programs. And I go, hold on, back that way up and ask some critical questions about yourself and your own life and start there, because we cannot give something to people that we don't have ourselves. And that's the starting place of that. And that's biblical. That is starting from a biblical based foundational place that you yourself are being a disciple maker first.
One of the things we say, and I think you're in agreement with this, actually goes back to Dallas Willard. We want to start the revolution before we announce it. In other words, like, live it out before you're talking to people about it. I really think that's always the first place to start, especially if you're leading a ministry or you're in ministry, or even if you're just a volunteer church leader. Everybody can carve out time to focus on disciple making. I always tell people, everybody can find 5 hours a week if it's a priority to you as it was to Jesus. How does an intentional leader, why is that such an important thing?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what we're talking about, starting with you personally, and that you live it out. It's who you are. It's not what you do, and it continuing to be more and more and more of who you are. That's a critical piece of building this into the culture, that it has to be transferred from you to a staff or a volunteer leadership, the people in your church. So that only happens by when we choose to live it out. I just refuse to preach or talk about something that I myself am not doing. I'm not going to ask my staff to lead a small group and make disciples if I myself am not doing it. I'm not going to plant a church if I'm not making disciples here at this church. I don't have the right to send anybody else to go do something that I'm not doing. And so we live it out as a lifestyle. And then finding every way possible within our church to communicate it, whether it be from the pulpit, whether it be in print media, whether it be relationships here in our small group curriculum, our membership classes, our trainings, everything that we do, we're communicating this culture of being disciple makers at every chance that we get. And I think a lot of times in church, we have so many different things going on that it gets lost in a lot of noise. And to have it be your culture, it has to be the one thing that we do. You have to bang that drum over and over and over. And even if it gets boring, you got to keep banging the drum, because there's always somebody new that's hearing it for the first time, or there's leaders that have forgotten it, and you have to say it again. So that's the communication part. And then finally is to prune and be able to look into your culture, into the culture that you have, and go, what are things that we have that are unhealthy, that don't lead to disciple making, that actually hinder or are a cost? And we need to cut some of that away. And that's why, and I've probably had that conversation as much as any conversation with church leaders over the years of doing this.
Because there's so many programs, right?
So many programs.
And so many churches have so many programs. You don't have time to make disciples, because you got to keep the machine running.
Yeah, the sacred cows, the things they've done for 20 years, they don't even remember why they've done it. And they've got 4 people that are leading that ministry and it used to have 400 and now it's dead, but they still keep doing it. That kind of thing. Stuff needs to be pruned. It's a healthy thing to prune.